The colony of Arden's Reach was humanity's pride in the Orion Spur, a settlement carved into alien stone, a green oasis of forests and glass-domed cities breathing life into the void. 10,000 families lived there, generations dreaming of stars their ancestors could only imagine. It ended in less than a day. The Krill Dominion came without warning. Their warships blackened the skies, angular predators bristling with weapons that spat fire across the plains. They broadcast no declaration, no ultimatum, only laughter in their guttural language, carried on hijacked human comms as they unleashed the slaughter. Cities burned, orbital defenses crumbled, civilians crowded into shelters that became tombs as kinetic bombardment split the earth open. In the colony's final transmission, a child's voice screamed, "They're burning everything." Then silence, replaced by Krill war chants echoing across the spectrum. The invaders celebrated, boasting that humanity had been taught its place. They spoke with casual cruelty, mocking the screams they had recorded, mocking the weak ships that had dared resist. Arden's Reach was ash. The laughter of arrogance. In the days that followed, Krill commanders paraded their triumph across the galactic channels. Holographic footage of burning cities became their trophy reels. "They breed like vermin," one Krill lord snarled to an audience of allies, "and like vermin we cull them. Let Earth weep. Let them hide behind treaties and words. They lack the will to bleed us." The Dominion's allies clapped their claws and spines, convinced that humans would respond with diplomacy, with grief, with silence. Earth was still seen as a civilized world, thoughtful, cautious, slow to anger. Their fleets rarely left their borders. Their leaders spoke often of peace. The Krill mistook patience for weakness. They mistook silence for fear. And in that mistake, they sealed their fate. The silence breaks. For a week, the galaxy watched humanity do nothing. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. Then the comms crackled alive. Across every channel, every frequency, the human signal was the same. "This is Earth Command. Arden's Reach has fallen. Retaliation is authorized. Stand clear of Krill space." No threats, no bluster, just a cold announcement delivered in a voice without emotion. On Luna's shipyards, the dreadnought Atlas Prime lifted from its dry dock, its hull blotting out the light of the stars. From Mars, red deserts, armored divisions boarded transports, the dust clouds of departure rising like storms. Asteroid foundries went silent as their output, weapons, fleets, supplies, was redirected to war. Whole sectors dimmed as human fleets drew power to launch. Warplanes that had lain dormant for centuries lit up, one by one, until the galaxy saw the pattern. Earth's armadas were mobilizing. Humanity's restraint was gone. And the galaxy understood. Retaliation was inevitable. The first blow of vengeance. The Krill celebrated too long. Their fleets lounged in orbit around Arden's Reach, mocking the charred ruins below. They had no idea the storm had already crossed the void. It began with silence, sensors flickering, signals cut. Then the stars themselves seemed to shift as hundreds of human warships emerged from slipspace simultaneously. No warning, no negotiation. Atlas Prime's main cannon fired once. A Krill capital ship ceased to exist, reduced to molten fragments spinning through vacuum. Human cruisers surged forward, launching swarms of drones that moved like living storms, tearing apart the enemy's escorts before they could raise shields. Krill comms filled with screams. Their confidence dissolved into chaos. What they thought were prey had arrived as predators, their ships painted black, their weapons burning hotter than suns. The first battle lasted 17 minutes. At its end, not a single Krill ship survived. Arden's reach was silent still, but now the silence was human vengeance, waiting for the next strike. Storms across the stars. The retaliation did not stop. It grew. Every Krill outpost lit up with alarms as humanity descended. Orbital bombardments turned their fortresses into glass. Cities that once sneered at human weakness were drowned in the fire of precision strikes. Human soldiers, armored like walking fortresses, landed on enemy worlds, their march shaking the ground, their weapons roaring like thunder. Reports spoke of the Nightfall Corps, elite units that gave no quarter. They moved through streets like shadows, silent until their weapons spoke, leaving only ruin in their wake. Entire garrisons surrendered at the sight of their black banners. Human fleets were relentless. They did not occupy, they did not negotiate, they burned. In less than a month, 3 Krill sectors ceased to exist. Trade routes collapsed. Allies who once clapped at human weakness now trembled, watching as entire worlds were erased from star maps. The galaxy whispered, Earth's fleets were not new. They had been waiting, hidden, sharpened in silence. The patience of humanity was vast, but their vengeance was infinite. The price paid. The Krill begged their allies for aid. None came. To stand between Earth and its vengeance was to be marked next. The galaxy watched fleets move like storms, blotting out suns, their engines leaving trails of fire across the void. They watched as Krill leaders broadcast desperate pleas, only to be silenced mid-speech as orbital cannons vaporized their strongholds. In the final days, Krill space was nothing but fire and shadows. Their proud fleets shattered, their cities hollowed. Survivors fled to barren moons, whispering in terror as human dreadnoughts passed overhead, sparing them only so they could spread the tale. When the last Krill capital burned, Earth transmitted a single message. Let this be remembered, one colony burned, the galaxy paid the price. Aftermath whispers in the dark. The war was over in less than 3 months, but its echoes would last centuries. Silence fell again, deeper than before. The stars burned as they always had, but beneath their light the galaxy lived in dread. Treaties were rewritten. Borders shifted. Every council chamber held one phrase, whispered like a prayer and a warning. Never provoke Earth again. Merchants crossed human space with reverence, their ships dimming lights as they passed. Spies who once mocked humanity deleted their reports, unwilling to risk being caught speaking ill of Earth. And in taverns, on stations, in the dark corners of distant worlds, survivors told their children what they had seen. That fleets could blot out the sun. That vengeance could fall like a storm. That humanity, patient and civilized, carried wrath vast enough to erase empires. And so the galaxy learned. Earth could wait for decades, for centuries. But when the line was crossed, when blood was spilled, their patience ended, their vengeance did not. The Oris colony had stood for only 3 generations. A jewel among the stars, its crystal cities rose on green plains, its people known not for war, but for quiet innovation, music, and trade. To the galaxy, it was little more than a backwater human settlement, a frontier world ripe with resources and unguarded prosperity. And to the Karatek Dominion, it was an opportunity. Their warships descended like carrion birds. Blackened hulls broke through the atmosphere, engines screaming. The skies filled with fire, and the ground quaked as orbital strikes hammered down upon the shining cities. Families fled into the forests, but were hunted mercilessly by the Dominion's soldiers, tall, insectoid creatures wielding plasma blades that crackled with arrogance as they carved through unarmed civilians. In the central plaza of Oris, survivors were rounded up, The Karatech commander, exoskeleton gleaming in the burning light, broadcast his words across the colony. Let this be a lesson to all species: humanity is weak. Their colonies are unguarded. Their fleets are scattered. Their so-called Earth Command cannot protect them. Horus is ash and more will follow. The plaza erupted in fire as he gave the order. 10,000 voices were silenced in an instant. The colony burned. And in the void beyond, the galaxy watched. The Dominion's arrogance. The Karatech feasted on their triumph. Across their networks, images of the destruction of Horus were played on loop, human bodies broken, their cities turned to slag. They called it proof of their dominance, mocking the Terran people as farmers who dared to play starfarers. Diplomatic channels lit with the Dominion's boasts. Humanity is too civilized, too restrained. They will complain in councils, but they will not act. Other empires listened and nodded. Humans were traders, explorers, builders, but warriors. No, humanity's fleets were seen as defensive patrols at best, not instruments of war. They were underestimated, and the Dominion's generals reveled in that underestimation. One Karatech admiral raised his mandibles in triumph at a war council. They will weep, but they will not strike. They will beg, but they will not bleed us. Earth is weak. We need fear them no longer. Laughter echoed across the chamber. But far away, on a silent blue world orbiting a yellow sun, no one laughed. The quiet before the storm. The news of Horus reached Earth. No screams, no chaos, no grand speeches, just silence. The footage of burning colonies was received by the Terran High Command. Politicians fell quiet. Generals stood still.